Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, where today I have a very good friend of mine, Sam, who has kindly agreed to come on the podcast. And although we are friends from many moons ago, we actually reconnected pretty much, would you say, Sam, from a mutual respect of what we put into our individual sports.
Yeah, I was like, we've known each other for a long time and sort of almost like passive sort of friendship. But then it's only in the last sort of year or so where it's been like, no, you're good people.
Yeah.
And doing some massage work for you, obviously like chatting, it was just like, oh man, you work damn hard, and like that, I say like a mutual appreciation of what it takes to do what we do respectively. I've obviously done bodybuilding before, but you haven't done powerlifting to my knowledge. But I know you used to do triathlons when I used to play rugby, so there's always that sort of crossover, and I think that's good sort of strength sport world to be able to appreciate what other people do.
Yeah, for sure, because there's so much crossover, and we'll talk about sort of mindset and this type of stuff that goes into our sport, as well as the physical, the strength for you, and for me, the aesthetic appearance. But it's mind-blowing what goes into being an athlete, and especially when you compete, there's so much to it. And I don't think really on the outside of it, people can appreciate actually what you do. It's a 24/7 thing. I don't know about you, but I wake up in the night dreaming about competing and what I've got
honestly,
to do,
especially as I've got dates of comps. It's just like, man, like I'm 14 weeks away from European Championships. I'm just like, it's like ages away, but I'm like ready to go. I'm watching just like random meets from like the US. I'm just like, man, I'm cooking. I am humming to go. I can't wait. Time's going to come around quickly. Like 14 weeks in powerlifting is ages. So I've got a good amount of time to prep. It's just what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, you have Lizzie, your girlfriend, who is also a powerlifter, which,
yes,
a bit like Matt and I both doing bodybuilding, it really does help, doesn't it, for that understanding?
Definitely. I've been with people. So when I was doing a bodybuilding show back in 2016, I was with someone who I was living in London, and I was dating someone who just like city wanker, just did like a bovvy job in an office, loved to take away, wasn't really interested in fitness, and I'm there just like fuck, man, I've got
fish in a rice cake.
Yeah, literally, and just don't get me started on that, man, because my nutrition wasn't the best. It got me to where I needed to be, but we can talk about that in a bit. But she's like, oh, so should we go out to the pub and whatever with our mates? And I tried to do my bit to like engage with that, and I might have like a pint or because I bought like my own water, because I don't drink squash because I'm a fucking child, so I had to drink all this water. I was like, well, I'm gonna have squash, and they're like, oh, you can't bring your own drinks in here. It's like, it's a fucking bottle of water. And like, she didn't really understand it, her friends didn't really understand it, and it just made us sort of incompatible. But even more recently, sort of towards the end of my previous relationship with my fiance, and it was like, you're spending too much time in the gym. The sessions take a long time, particularly when you're getting to like a higher intensity. You need that time to recover between sets, and you're working up to higher weights. And when you're working up to like a 300 kilo squat, it's going to take a bit of time.
Hot second.
So yeah. And it was like, why don't you come with me, and try and get involved in it and share this sort of thing that I love. It's my world, but I want it to be our world. And there's just never that understanding. And it, again, incompatibility. And it was always going to be a problem. So
what would you say the main difference is? Obviously, you can train with Lizzie and this type of thing, but is it just that you don't feel that guilt as such, and it's just so much easier? Is the biggest...
I sound like such a dick, because I never had that guilt, because at the end of the day, I was like, I'm inviting you into this world. I want you to come with me. I want you to exercise, and I want you to do whatever. But if you say you don't want to, I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to force you to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But with that comes, if you decline, you can't bitch and moan about it. But it's true. And I think at the time I did feel quite like I felt guilty because I was being made to feel guilty, because it's like you'd rather be there with your mates and blah blah blah, not spend time with me. With Lizzie, it's very different. Obviously both being powerlifters, she's a world champion. She's actually gone out, so I always embarrass her by telling everyone that she's a world champion.
I remember that when I first met her.
Yeah, she won. Yeah, I know, right? She won the world championships in November last year, and obviously both doing that, we both have a mutual appreciation and understanding of what it takes and what's involved. But also, so she's started a new job, and she's got sort of her new job is sort of front loaded with all this like knowledge. She's got to do like a 15-week crash course in all of this stuff that she's got to do. So she's got to do all of this, and I'm obviously on placement, finishing off my course and working sort of weird hours. But the gym, we sort of agreed like that's our time together as well. Like, as much as it's for the purpose of competition, it's time that we enjoy spending with each other, so we train together as well. And that's kind of how we get around it. But yeah, she's really good, like, and vice versa. I know, if you've got to get it done, you've got to get it done. We know it's important to us. It's part of what makes us who we are, and we need something competitive to do. We're really ugly athletes in a sense. I say we're bad winners, but we're worse losers. Or we're bad losers, but we're worse winners.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when we had the conversation about you doing your bodybuilding prep and how you decided, a bit like Matt when he did his photo shoot prep, how hard that is, how much work goes in. And then off the bat, you're like, I don't know if I want to do that again. And of course, you then took up powerlifting. Maybe we could talk about your prep and what you learned. You touched on earlier about the nutrition and how that sort of didn't go as planned per se.
I guess I guess for the sort of, for most people, like your average person, Joe Public, right? Whether it's powerlifting or whether it's bodybuilding, CrossFit, whatever it is, they only see the good shit because that's the only stuff that people publish. And I like to, like, with my Instagram and stuff, I kind of post a bit of everything, and it's like, it's on my training diary. So if I'm having a shit time, I'll post it. I'll say how I felt. It saves cloud storage as well. So I keep on videos up there. But this is a sort of misconception, or social media's made this. There's always the issue of like wanting the quick fix. There always was, even before social media was a thing. Like, or before it sort of took off in like 2007, 2008. People always wanted the quick fix, always, and it just wasn't going to happen. And now with social media, all you're seeing is the good stuff. So it's kind of made that a bigger problem. So, when I was doing the bodybuilding stuff, I didn't realize how much work it is. Like, powerlifting is so different. There's a lot of work in the gym, and if you like, I'm super heavyweight, so my diet is just get enough protein, get enough calories, and it's like, if it fits in macros, just sling it in. But that suits me. It suits my lifestyle at the moment, right? Because if it doesn't suit my lifestyle, I'm not able to maintain it. There's no point. It's just a waste of time, and you'll know that from the diet stuff. And this is a sort of stuff that I had. Is I was being given basically bland chicken and rice for 19 weeks, and I did it. And I think the willpower, like that mental resilience to do that. And it was, I'm in the gym twice a day, I'm getting my steps in, then doing my session, and I'm gradually starving myself. It's, broadly speaking, that's what you're doing. That's how, you're in a calorie deficit. And it was brutal. Like, I loved that process. I loved watching myself transform. And I'd always been like the fat bloke. Like,
rugby as well,
Yeah. But like, I was like big, but I never had like abs. That was always the thing. Like, and I just wanted to do it, see if I can do it. So back in 2016 2016, I was like, I'm just going to enter bodybuilding competition. I'm sort of goal orientated. So if I sign up to something, I'm going to do it. Whereas if I just go, I'm going to do it, I won't do it. I need something to aim for. So I did that. And a guy called Dave, like, good friend, like he did me a favor. He did it like on the cheap as we were mates, and and he got me to where I needed to be. Was it the most efficient way? Was it the most was it the way with the most variety? Absolutely not. But he did what he knew worked, and that's what I think a lot of people do. And then, but the thing is, he'd done it before. He'd done bodybuilding and stuff before, and he was actually quite successful, Dave Hopp. But you get this, you just get people, it's always like, oh, but you know what you're talking about? You look like shit. It's like, yeah, dude, the dude owns his own gym. He ain't got time to look shredded all the time. And you just see that all the time. Like, oh, you like, with powerlifting, oh, you're not strong. Yeah, but it's knowledge. It's application of knowledge into programming or into, for bodybuilding, into nutrition, into whatever. And I think as I've sort of got older and got a bit wiser, you start seeing, like, following people like yourself, you see the variety in diet and stuff, and you realize it doesn't have to be chicken and rice and fish and a rice cake.
Yeah, it's very old school.
It's that thing, like, you can do, like, I've got to get like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, right? I could have 4,000 calories of protein shake. I'd never poo ever. It'd be the calories and it'd be the protein. Variety's not there, and there's the other bits that are missing. Just like you could do chicken and rice 5 times a day. You could do it. It'd be shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're not going to get guys, you know, people, particularly with food, and when you're reducing carbs and stuff, you'll know this. Like, when you first did it, my God, how hard was it? Like, after like 4 weeks to be like, oh,
yeah.
And it's like, I just want like ice cream. I want something.
Yeah. Like
bland,
when you're
boring. Yeah, you're just humming for some like biscuits.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's got to keep it appealing. You've got to have that variety, and it's got to be sustainable, because otherwise people aren't going to do it.
Yeah,
they're wasting their time. And then, you know, as the coach, you get that reputation of just not being able to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that your thing was wrong. Was it the best way? No. Was it going to work? Yes. But it's like having like a shit client. They're going to go around and be like, oh, well, the coach is shit. So, no, was the coach bad or were you bad?
Yeah,
it's that sort of thing. And particularly with like dieting, you just can get, well, oh, well, didn't, you know, maybe you dropped too many calories in a week or whatever, and they're not going to stick to it because it's too much, and they're going to just, yeah. And there's the honesty that you need as well. Like, I was really bad, man. I looked so good. I was having like so much like sneak ice cream and stuff towards the end. And I was like, yeah, no, I've been sticking to the calories.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to what you said about, you know, trying to vary it, there is merit in being able to do that, especially at the early stages of prep. Like, you can still, your macros aren't going to be terribly low unless you're doing one of these sort of turbo preps, as it were, which is becoming a bit more popular. But if you're doing like a standard bodybuilding prep, 16 to 20 weeks at the start, you can still include foods, and then, you know, you've got to
whittle it down towards the end.
Yeah, and as coaches, it's our job to go, okay, so, you know, towards the end, it's not going to be as palatable. You're going to eat a meal and still be hungry, and you'll be thinking about your next meal and all of this stuff. But that comes with education of having a coach, and that's what coaches should do, you know, help the client understand what this is. And it's a short space of time. It's not forever.
It's that managing expectations. And that's why, like, goal setting is a really good thing for coaches to do, is, but what do you want? You know, because if you're just doing it, I want abs, that's not what you want. Why do you want it? And then when you're honking, you're just like, you're cooking for a biscuit, and then you can remind yourself, no, I've got this, I'm doing it for this. This is the reason I'm doing it. And it's something to keep you sort of fixed and on the right path. But yeah, like I said, like, it's, especially, I remember when I started, I think I did a 19-week prep, and I agree with you. You see these like turbo preps, and you just think, you're gonna fucking kill yourself. You're gonna fuck yourself up bad. I would never recommend anyone do anything shorter than 12 weeks. But I've got no real experience in that world. But from like as a sort of healthcare professional, 12 weeks to be able to do, but it depends how much you got to lose.
Yeah, and of course, there is individual cases where it's more appropriate, like you sort of.
Yeah, I did a 19-week prep. I was 130 kilos. I got down to about 100 over 19 weeks. So it's done very sustainably in that respect. But when I first started, I think my calories were super high.
Yeah.
And then they come down. So when I started, I was given a higher calorie baseline than I was already on.
Yeah.
Because it's, I don't know. But it worked. It did the trick. I was in great nick, but fucking hell, I rebounded
Yeah.
hard.
Well, and in regards to allowing time for a prep, in the cases where people do the shorter preps, it's most of the people I know that have done that, they've done it before. They're experienced athletes. You don't know about drug load. You don't know about genetics. You don't know what they're putting into that 4 weeks, how hard that is. If they're wanting to do it that way, absolutely fine. But when you, again, back to sort of social media and this type of thing, people don't see it. They see, a 4-week prep, I'll do that. But you don't actually know what's going into it.
Even a water cut.
Mm.
Like, people don't understand, just like, and you'll see this a lot in the bodybuilding world. You see it in powerlifting as well. People cutting weight to make cutting water to make a weight for a competition. And I did a water cut for bodybuilding as well. And you can do it with or without drugs. But if you take things like furosemide, which is diuretic, that makes you just piss out all your water, piss out all your potassium as well. And potassium, if it's too low or too high, will put you into an arrhythmia, and then you can go into cardiac arrest. And people don't know that. And so when you're doing these like turbo cuts and like water loading and water cuts and stuff, is you really have to know, you have to replenish your electrolytes. You have to look after the other bits. It's not just get all the weight off, sit in a sauna suit in a sauna for an hour. No, you've got to. You're losing all this water, but you've got to replace the minerals that you're losing, or you will die. You will die. So I think in powerlifting, I think they should ban water cuts because they're just dumb. You've got enough time to make weight. Bodybuilding is different because a lot of it's about appearance. Yeah, you guys just got to be careful.
Yeah, there's mixed opinions on diuretics, like in any sport, I guess.
Yeah, obviously, like, going back to like the like Instagram and stuff, is people aren't showing you what it actually takes. And even to like into like a greater extent is like people, these like fitness models and stuff, and they seem to look fucking shredded and jacked all year round. Now you and I both know they ain't. You see one of these guys off season, they look like a potato. So for anyone that isn't aware listening to this, the big secret is they get absolutely jacked for like one day of a year. They do a photo shoot, take a load of spare clothes, and they drip feed them out all year round. That is the big secret. I'm sure you all know that, but for the random person that doesn't, now you do.
But and also with a lot of females that are that sort of highlight reel and they always look in shape, if they are genuine in shape all year round, they're maybe not progressing to the level that they could, and there's got
to be old school terms of like bulking, cutting, and off season, on season. You've got to have those. Like, what are you just going to stay static the whole time? And this is the thing about sport, is the standard always moves. Standard always gets better. Now it's easy to quantify in things like powerlifting because the qualifying total becomes higher. The guys at the top are setting more weight. It's that sort of thing. But I think in bodybuilding, it's a bit more. Obviously, it's all very aesthetic based, but it depends on what the trend is of the year. And let's be honest, who's sponsoring the fucking event?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
There's a lot more politics to it. But the standard of bodybuilder 10 years ago compared to today is totally different.
And people don't, I guess until you go into bodybuilding and you've been in it for a number of years, like I have, and you were in it back however many years ago it was, it is very different. And as the years have gone on, I can see you working out how many years ago.
7 years ago. Little hamster in there, like.
there is some politics to it, and there is things that you maybe wouldn't know as a newbie bodybuilder. And I never get too into the politics, as we've spoken about, because I do it for what I would say is the right reasons. I do it for myself. If you don't do it for yourself and you do come across the politics of bodybuilding, then it can put you in a really bad place. Like
I think this is probably what's a good thing that I stepped away. I'm super competitive, like insanely. It's ugly. I got stuck into all of that. How am I going to end up seem so unhealthy? And just have it. I'd be a completely different person. But I think, yeah, like you said, like doing it for yourself, your own reasons, you're able to take that step back away from the politics, and it doesn't matter necessarily where you end up. Like there's also that competitive element to you, because otherwise you just do photo shoots and leave it at that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. But it's more about doing it and the journey and the experience necessarily and being the best in the world. You just happen to have been at one point. Humble brag.
It's like
Miss Universe, was it? Was it?
Oh, it's like the weirdest thing, because it's so out of body. When you do it for yourself, when you look, you strive for that personal growth, and you have this like inner, I guess, respect for yourself that grows as you become, more into competing, and then you do get accolades. It's still like, surely that didn't actually happen. Like, how the hell did I win Miss Universe?
When you meet someone like famous, or you meet someone who's like a big name in your sport, and they're just like a normal person, it's kind of like, how am I like I came second in the world a couple of years ago, and I was like, I'm second best in the world at something, but I'm just like some fat potato bloke that you'd see. I've given up drinking now, but that you see down the pub start sinking lagers, and like, and you just don't see that necessarily in like modern sports or like elite level sport anymore. You look at any sport that's sort of gone professional, you don't see that like human side to people anymore, because you have to be constantly putting on that front, and you don't want to let down your sponsors by being seen eating a fucking Cornish pasty or something, Greg's pie or something.
Pressure.
And it's brutal. Like, how these young people in any sport can handle having like that level of responsibility and just not be able to unwind and be themselves because they're in the public eye. And it's not even like mainstream media. That's just like dickheads on their phone filming them on Instagram. Like, it's like, just fucking leave these guys alone. A lot of these guys are kids.
Yeah.
And they're getting all that heat. It's just like, God, come on, man. Just give them a break, right?
Yeah, it's that external pressure, and that, being a coach as well. You're a coach yourself, and I am. It's quite I guess, like, it feels like you obviously want to lead by example, but that also, for me and Matt, and probably for yourself, that incorporates making memories and spending time with loved ones. That might be a meal out. Do you know what I mean? That might be something that's away from the norm.
I say this to people, like, leading by example is what you do, like, say, in the gym, on the platform, but also away from the sport. And it doesn't mean that you have to be seen to be this like perfect person. It means that you have to, you should think about what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to start around fighting people, because that's just dumb, and it's going to reflect badly on like my coach, his business, the sport, but things like that, right? But being able to go, there's more to life than just squat, bench, deadlift.
Yeah.
Me and Lizzie can go and have a meal out, go and catch up with friends, and things like that are really important. Like, you've got to look after your well-being outside of the sport, because I found this when I got injured so much I couldn't play rugby anymore, and my whole life was rugby. That was my identity. And when I couldn't play anymore, I was like, oh, like, fuck. What do I do? And then that's when my mental health took a really big spiral, because I was papering over these cracks with rugby, and as soon as I lost that, I was like, fuck, man. I haven't got this outlet anymore, and I haven't got this friend group anymore. I haven't got any of this, because it's all through this sport. And that's why it's important to have a life away from your sport, your work, your whatever it is that you're doing. You've got to have a life outside of it. You have to.
Yeah. Like you say, you become, like, I'm known as the bodybuilder, you're known as the powerlifter, and it's like, actually, we're Sam and Sarah. Hiya.
Like, we're just two geezers.
And we do like to have a laugh sometimes, because of course, leading up to competition, minutia becomes more important, and you do need to bring a certain element of tunnel vision. And we understand that, because we both do. We're very similar in regards to when we switch into competition mode. We're in
comp mode. It's focus time. Yeah.
but it's hard for sometimes people to see that and understand it.
Oh man, I spend like 3-4 hours at a gym because I love a chin wag. I love like being in that environment and sort of having that community. It's really, really cool. It's a really good thing about powerlifting and even bodybuilding. Like when I was in London, those gyms, like certain gyms lend themselves to having different sort of demographics, and I really enjoyed that. It's social as well. It's filling those social needs as well as the physical and this competitive and the sport. But it gets to a time I'm just like, oh, fuck man, I love you guys, but stop talking to me.
Train now.
Done. And it's something that I really struggle with actually, because I don't want to be like upsetting people or letting people down. I always put people before myself, and that's something that I need to improve on. But yeah, it's just like, when I was doing my last prep, it was 3-4 hours. I'm pissing with sweat. I'm trying to make weight. I'm in the gym. Like, oh man, I love it. I live for it. But it's like you're working at that like 90% plus intensity. You have to take like a lot of rest. Sessions take a long time because you have to take that time. And you say you're working up to more weight you lift, the longer it takes to warm up.
Yeah.
I always feel sorry for Lizzie when we're training together.
I'll just go on my Instagram for a bit and chill.
Yeah. Well, like today we're like I did like a 170 bench for a double or something, and Lizzie was going up to like 75. That's just like, I'm like, you're gonna be here a while, man.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
But yeah, it's about doing what needs to be done, and I think I'm quite fortunate to have this sort of community of people around me where I can be like, look, love you guys, don't want to be rude, but I've just got to get going. I've got to switch on, and I found sort of cues for other people that are quite nice. Is like if I wear my headphones in, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. Is headphones in, and then when I get closer to comp, I start training in a singlet. Like getting used to that sort of feel of being in that, get comfortable in what I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, okay, he's in comp mode. Just see him. Because I'll just ignore you, and you'll think I'm a dick, and I am a dick, but
not really.
This is, but it's doing what you got to do, right? I don't know what sort of stuff do you do when you're in those sort of final weeks?
Yeah, so actually, I bumped into one of Matt's clients in town the other day, and his other half was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're not in training for the competition anymore." And I was like, "Why?" She said, "Not good for you, is it? You didn't look good, and we saw you in town that day." And I just put my hand up to wave and carried on. She was like, "You're doing loads of steps." And then Matt and I had a conversation, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Tony was saying to me, I'm really worried about Sarah. She doesn't look too well." And and Matt was like, there was quite a few people in the gym that were asking questions and saying things, and he said, you need to just leave her to focus because she's got the last bit. But I wasn't really aware. But I'm headphones in, and I sort of head down, and I think
head down, crack on, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I mean, just on the like, I waved at you in town. You won't even you didn't even notice me. It's like, man, I don't even notice people that sat next to me. So oblivious.
I can literally just about breathe. And I need to get steps done.
If you're waving at me in the high street, there's a good chance I'm never going to see it. You're better off coming up to me, telling me who you are. Because if I'm not used to seeing you, like, I don't know, not in gym clothes or not like a mask on your face, thinking about work and stuff, it's like, I ain't got a fucking clue. I haven't even seen 50% of your fucking face ever. And then the other, like, people are telling you, like, oh, I'm worried about her, she don't look well. Yeah, she's like 2 weeks out from a comp.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand what you're seeing, or are you just saying what you think?
Yeah.
And that's sort of different. Like, oh, you don't look well. Yeah, no, she's like gaunt and fucking
and not well, really.
Hungry. Tell you what, though, she's shredded.
Yeah. Well, as well,
it's when we close to events and like you're a bit tired because imagine it sort of messes with your sleep and stuff a bit. But mate, I feel I guess I have an understanding. I was like, yeah, you look well.
Yeah. for where you're at.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that. I always tell the story. I've told you guys. I was like 2 or 3 weeks out from my bodybuilding comp, and yeah, like mate, I was like a skeleton. But how I am now, I'm like 130. I feel 134 kilos I weighed in today.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. I look like a skeleton, and I'm just doing doing like RDLs or something like 60 kilos, like a million reps, like old school sort of programming, right? So let's go up to me, be like, oh, could we can I jump in? Could we work bar together? I was just like, just walked off and just set up another bar myself. And because I was so like calorie depleted, I could not, I didn't have the energy to explain to this person why I didn't want them near me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was easier for me to just walk off and just set up somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. You become
And people don't understand that, and that's like when you're in that headspace, even like just thinking is tiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's part of the sport. It's like after a competition, like all my body will just ache and hurt because I've just gone like 105% of it hurts.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that unless they know the sport.
Yeah. That holds heavy as well with regards to the different training that we do. And this is something that's I find quite interesting to talk about, and it's not spoken about that much. Matt and I speak about it quite a lot in regards to how training is made for individual people. Now, with your sport, the lifts you do, how hard are they on your CNS? So imagine trying to do that throughout a prep and at the tail end of a prep, and
Yeah, mate. Well, particularly, I mean, like strength training it's predominantly CNS. You're trying to get that neurological adaptation because there's no way that a 74 kilo ferret man, my coach, could squat like 230. And, whereas, I'm twice his fucking weight and, can squat a lot more. But you can achieve strength without necessarily getting bigger. It's harder, obviously, because size, more muscle mass, more whatever. But yeah, like to do basically any sort of compound movement, and to do it sort of well and safely requires neurological stimulation. And when and then obviously when you're doing it, because I'd imagine you're doing no less than like 6 reps a day, and then how training sort of goes. Then you're also doing like a lot more focus on like time under tension, right? So it's not just like slamming it into the hole right back up. You're controlling it down, controlling it up. Oh, that's a lot of neural fatigue, muscular fatigue.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
And of course, there is a higher injury risk. And when we're, putting someone into a deficit and going into the tail end of a prep, like we've already spoken about today, how fucked you are.
Well, particularly because like generally you're sort of you eat next to no fat, and you need fat to sort of help with like lubrication of joints and like hormone production and stuff like that. So your joints are really vulnerable, particularly when you're in that sort of later stage. Like I think I took like letrozole or something towards the end, and that stuff is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Like you take it for like 2 weeks. If you take it for any longer, you're probably gonna fuck your knee up or something.
Yeah.
It's you're putting all that strain on your body, and you're in a position where like nutritionally you're not optimized for recovery.
Yeah, and for performance.
So you're vulnerable, like massively vulnerable. And I guess, that's just where the respect comes from. It's not, the dieting side isn't just hard; it's really fucking hard, particularly towards the end. But just to be able to maintain training under those conditions and to be able to do it well and safely and achieve the right stimulus, it's huge.
Yeah. I mean, from your education as well, would you agree that throughout a bodybuilding prep and even in the off season, when you're coming off the back of a show, recovering and then calories are starting to come up and you can be a bit more performance related, would you say during those periods that it is more key to focus on technique, to focus on, the coming away from the powerlifting lifts as such and focusing more on bodybuilding training?
For what, in like an off season?
Well, for prep, the recovery,
Yeah.
entering off season, would you
I think
prioritize?
when you think about the nature of what bodybuilding is,
Yeah.
when you're beginning that prep phase, so let's say you're doing a 12-week prep, and then plus whatever time period you need to come off, to it's compound movements maybe sort of toward that beginning, but then as your calories are starting to get to a point where you're not optimized, you can still do variations and stuff that are less demanding on technical
Yes.
performance. You can still jump on a machine, you can jump on a leg extension, right?
Yeah. I
It's a
love
lot
that
safer.
example. Thank you for that example.
Yeah, you can jump on a leg curl rather than doing an RDL and not put your back out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about engaging the muscles. It's not about performing a lift. It's about how you look. Can you achieve the same stimulus with
Yes.
a much safer alternative? Yes. Almost in almost
Aesthetic
every
thought.
single way. Yes. You don't need to lift loads of weight.
Yeah.
There's so many
Because
variables you can manipulate, like time under tension. You can manipulate reps. You can manipulate set. It's so many other things you can change. You don't just have to go and sling on like 140 on the bar and like knock out another bench press. I didn't bench anything more than 60.
But compound lifts are so hard. Like when I used to deadlift, and I used to deadlift as a bodybuilder, I don't
Yeah.
have anything against. I've got so much respect for powerlifting, and
But in your off season, when you're just trying to build timber, yeah, you mate, your squat bench deadlift. When you're on season, not so much.
Yeah, it's that I can see why, I had like a emotional attachment, especially to all three of the compound lifts, because I was like, this is so good. But then for me, because it's an athletic based sport, I had to, listen to my coach, understand because bodybuilding has evolved, as it were, in regards to what the training plan looks like, what exercises go into that, and it's doing it appropriate to your sport.
Well, my coach gives me leg extensions, even now,
Yeah,
and leg curls, because I need to work those areas.
yeah,
But being bigger lifter means I'm exposed to more fatiguing factors because it takes me longer to warm up. I'm lifting heavier weight, all of these sort of factors, right? I'm carrying 130 kilos around anyway.
yeah,
So his sort of theory is we need to stimulate the muscles, but in the least fatiguing way.
yeah.
Machines.
Which is what bodybuilding is, especially in a prep.
Yeah. It's getting, yeah. You're trying to hang on to every calorie you can.
Yeah, and there's so much that goes into a day, like you said, like posing practice, cardio, steps, training, food
Posing
prep.
practice. I've never known cramp. Like, and my coach like hold it for 10 seconds. It's like you fucking like you're it's like
But it's an expenditure as well.
at the comp, right? My class is about 20, 25 people, and you've got to stand there. You got to stand there just like relaxed, but not. Are you there for ages?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, fucking please call me out.
Isn't it crazy as well? Because when you start to carb load and get ready for show day, you think, oh, I'm going to have loads of carbs. I'm going to feel so good. And people see you on stage and think, oh, you look the picture of health. But you feel like shit most of the time.
Those guys are huffing oxygen in the back. Those guys are so close to needing an ambulance. It's terrifying. We see in powerlifting. My last meet, there's a geezer with his own oxygen canister. Just I was like, dude, you should not be lifting. You are not well.
What's with powerlifting? Do you have like people around you, or do you suffer with sleep apnea? Because this can be something when
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. It's a really big problem that I have. Like, I have to sleep on my side, and even then, it's not that effective. I had a sleep apnea machine.
Yeah.
I had to buy it privately, and then I had to send it back because I was poor. I was like, I can't. I was like, the ability to keep a roof over my head versus the ability to not die in my sleep. Yeah, I need to get one of those like pillows where I can sit upright, and then I'll just get problems with my circulation in my legs and stuff. So really, I need that sleep apnea machine. Because I spoke to my doctor about it. Like, why don't you just lose weight? So I don't want to fucking lose weight.
That's what
So I get quite bad reflux as well because I have to eat a lot of it. I have to eat a lot of food, and a lot of it's quite acidic, so I get the reflux, and reflux can cause like throat cancer and stuff like that. So I take omeprazole, like prophylactically, like a low dose, and it just keeps it off, right? And I first like, nurse, I know what I need. I'm gonna make your life easier. Like, I'm gonna call you up. This is what I need. This is why. Like, oh, okay. And this nurse, this doctor was like, how heavy are you? What's your weight? And I was like, 130 odd kilos, 6'3". So, try losing weight. I was like, no, I'm not losing weight. If you saw me, you'd realize I don't look like I'm 130 kilos. But
I'm a powerlifter.
Yeah, but it's, this is my weight, and I'm not changing it. So give me the drugs, please.
Yeah. There is so much, like you said right at the start. There's so much that people don't sort of, I don't know, appreciate, understand, what have you, about what goes into individual sports. And you said, about the resilience you build and what the bodybuilding prep taught you, and also having rugby in your life, always being involved in a sport, like the life skills and what you learn, certainly what I've learned every prep is unreal, and the self-development you can get from setting, challenging yourself, committing to, you don't have to compete even, but changing your life.
I mean, with the dieting, with the bodybuilding especially, it was just proof that no matter how hard something is, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. That was hands down the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
I know I could do it again. I just don't want to.
But
I like eating too much. But then, like, with competitions, with even like training, right? I fail a lift, or a lift isn't as good, and like, I'm quite bad at giving myself a hard time. Really bad. I need to stop it. But you can learn a lot from failure, failing something, or not achieving what you wanted to set out to achieve. But carrying on, keep going regardless, because it's a really valuable life lesson. It's not just important in the sport; it's important for life.
Yeah.
Life isn't fair. Life is going to fuck you over, and you have to be able to not necessarily bounce back. You don't have to like it. I always say to people, "Yeah, life's shit," and I'm not taking that away from you. Bitch and moan about it all you like, but don't let it stop you.
Yeah.
I'll sit there all day with you and bitch and moan with you about how shit life is. But the important thing is we keep going, we keep trying.
Also, what can you learn from discomfort? What can you learn from these lessons? The mental aspects, like building resilience, that doesn't just happen. That sometimes takes for you to get to very low points and make changes and make improvements happen. Like I say, you don't have to compete. All of my clients that I work with that aren't competitors, their success stories are fucking phenomenal. And it's, what it's like when you have clients. We've spoken about this. It's like they're your family, and you really do care about them. We do this because we love it. And to see that personal growth from committing to, learning about nutrition, training, all of those life skills you build up, it's just phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. And I think particularly in like something like my world, which is like a numbers-based world, I had someone, their max deadlift or something, a small girl, their max deadlift is like 100 or 105 or something. And I think I programmed 105, 107 for a double. And I didn't tell her, but I was programmed her, but I didn't tell her the significance of it. And she did it. She absolutely fucking smashed it. I just went, you realise that you've just doubled more than your 1 rep max? She's like, wait, what? Go back and check. And she just her attitude just changed. Like, she'd been really struggling with her training. We'd been working quite hard on technical stuff and getting her to a point where the technique was good enough to progress. Because particularly with squat, bench, deadlift, powerlifting type stuff, you can't have. You can get, to an extent, you can get away with being strong, but you need to be technically good as well.
Yeah,
and that's more just for protecting your own body. But you see these guys you see them in every gym. You'll see these guys that are absolute mutants, throwing weight around. But you look at it and you go, that technique is fucking bullshit. They look like a prawn when they're deadlifting, but they're pulling 250. They're squatting. Their squat looks like a good morning, and they're squatting like 200 plus. You just think, oh fucking hell, how long are you going to do that for?
Yeah.
And they're the guys that get injured.
Yeah.
And if you teach someone to lift well, and be able to apply that constantly, they're going to last a lot longer. And also, strength isn't built. People look at my training, and I'm very rarely at anything close to 90% intensity.
Yeah,
I'll sit in the 70s most of the time. People don't understand that they don't need to be training at like 95% all the time, because you will get injured, and you'll get really fucking injured. Why are you only benching like 160? So that's all you need to fucking bench.
Yeah. Well,
that's all you need to fucking do.
Yeah.
There's no benefit to me doing 180 every week, 190, 100, 200. What we're going to get out of that? Just more fatigue.
Yeah,
it's not helping.
Yeah.
It just becomes like counterproductive. My aim is to put more weight on the bar. I'm not able to do that because I'm constantly injured or fatigued. Then there's no benefit to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's very similar to bodybuilding. That one day only, you're not going to be that shredded all year round, like we said earlier. You're not going to be shredded.
No, but Instagram says I will.
Yeah, but then you know what it's like. How quickly does your six pack go after a show? Oh, okay, it's gone now. I worked for 6 months for that.
Literally 19 weeks for a six pack on like one day. Later that day, I've had 3 pizzas and about 9 bags of Haribo, and it's just gone.
Would you say that you said briefly earlier that your rebound didn't go very well? Would you say that's because you did that?
I did reverse diet. I just went, well, I'm done now.
And was that because
it
was such a bland diet and because it was so fucking brutal? Do you think that contributed?
Yeah, big time. And for me, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I just wanted to look like that and just get on stage. My coach, in all fairness to him, was very much like, hey, you should reverse diet like properly. And I was like, nah, fuck that, Haribo. All this food that I've not been able to eat for 19 weeks. Yeah, I'm eating it. I'm eating it now. Yeah. So, I mean, it didn't really mess me up as far as I'm aware. Maybe internally, it took me maybe it took longer, maybe for me to, my systems to rebalance. But I mean, this is like, almost 60 years ago now. I've done a lot worse since then. So,
yeah, I mean, I speak about this a hell of a lot on the podcast already about the post-show period, etc. And of course, it's going to contribute. It was your first time doing that, and you don't. It's the unknown, isn't it? And it's fucking.
Yeah.
You said, and being a big guy, I don't think people would appreciate. It scared you, it is scary. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're just like, fuck. What have I done?
It was mad, and like. One of the things I got from it, like I was never really a confident person. It's only in the last few years where I was talking about this with Lizzie actually earlier. Like I was always much more comfortable in like a group where I could sort of dip in and out and sort of blend into the background a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm much more like you, just going to talk to anyone, go and have a laugh, and more sort of extroverted than I was. But historically, I've always been very introverted. But getting on stage, and I mean, bear in mind, somewhere in London there's a big like 1,000 people there.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't see fuck all, so lights are like.
Yeah, I know you can't see anything.
You can't see shit.
Like, what's it
like?
Like?
Wave to you to see me in the crowd. It's like, 1, I can't. 2, can't fucking see you.
People think that you can see them and like you can hear them shouting your name and stuff, and I'm like, I couldn't hear fuck all, couldn't see fuck all.
Shit. I was like, I could barely stay awake. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Really big like confidence thing for me, because like I hated public speaking, all this like being seen, like being very obvious, like in a public situation. I just couldn't stand it. The thought of it would make me want to die. And that was like, yeah, fuck it, gonna do it. Did it. Oh, I didn't die. I'm fine. And then like sort of from then on, I think I gradually got to this point where I am now, where, oh, Sam, you got to do a presentation. Yeah, right, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
That's like one of the biggest things you sort of got from bodybuilding.
Big time. Big time. I learned probably more life lessons than I learned like gym lessons, if that makes sense. Like I knew that no matter how hard something gets, you just dig in. It's you'll get through it. And I had that, last year with my engagement breaking off, and I was made homeless twice, avoided jail time.
Crazy.
Lost my job. My life was a disaster. I was living in my fucking car at one point, but I just kept, throwing out job applications, kept looking for places to live, just kept doing it. It was hard, and I never lied to people and say there wasn't times where I just thought, like, fuck it, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
But it was on prep. I was like, fuck it, why am I doing this? And then I realized, like, I'm doing this. This is going to get me to this. Like, I'm going to get to the point where it's better.
Yeah.
So, and that was really important. And I don't think I would have, if I hadn't have done that bodybuilding show, I think I'd still be home. Because I learned how to be resilient through doing that.
Yeah. Even just, like I touched on earlier about dieting, even when you don't compete, when you diet and you diet pretty hard, like, you do get some real big, I guess, like, life lessons that you're going to keep forever. And I always say to people, you're never going to start where you started when you started to become aware of nutrition and training. So even if you were to did a year, with a coach or whatever, and then you decided to not have a coach for a bit, you're never going to go back to where you were before having a coach. And you can take those skills, even if you do things like, you might do more steps for the rest of your life. That's going to help health, all of these things that go into it, rather than, never getting started.
Yeah. And I used, like, even when I was trying to, like, watch my weight and stuff, because I didn't do any, like, competing or, like, aggressive sort of dieting, but I was very mindful that I wanted to sort of look all right, half decent. So I was like, what do I know that I can do? I know that calories have slowly got to come down, activity's got to slowly come up, and there'll be this crossover. So I'd take the whole, like, 10,000 steps minimum, X amount of calories minimum, like, and use those sort of basic principles. I was garbage at applying them. So be like, my housemates be like, hey, you want a pizza? Be like, fuck yeah, I want a pizza. But
I'll have a sniff.
Yeah.
That smells nice.
They just lit the box.
If you just have you heard of that? What's it called when people do this, like, carb swirling of the mouth? So they, like, put jam or something in their mouth.
It's like wine tasting. They're like,
yeah, and then they spit it out. I'm like, what? Would it really get that desperate?
But also, you must still be getting some carbs. You must be getting something out of that. Like,
yeah, that was my first thoughts. Are you sure about that?
It's like, you must be absorbed. Like, yeah, fine. Like a teaspoon of jam in your mouth. You're not going to get that all of that, but you're getting something out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, just like, why are people doing that?
Yeah.
If you're struggling that hard with your diet, then you need to adjust your diet.
Well, also, it's being transparent with your coach and honest with yourself.
But it's also like, it's being honest with yourself, and that's the key one, right? Because if it's that hard that you need to, like, put a spoonful of peanut butter in your mouth and just be like, and then gob it out. You need to speak to your coach, because maybe they can adjust something. They can relax your calories for, like, a few days. Maybe you just need, like, a little refeed. Maybe you need something like that. Maybe it's just not for you. Be honest with yourself. Do you have, like, how much do you want it? And that's a big question. Hey, how much do you want it?
And, if you go to your coach and they say, this is part of the process, suck it up, like you say, you either then continue or you don't. This is a choice.
Yeah, I'd be offered, like, I think it was very sort of, I think if I came and said, like, oh, I'm struggling with diet, I'm getting all these cravings, I'm struggling to manage, if the coach I had was just like, well, fucking do it, find a new coach. Your coach should always try and work with you, I think.
Or at least, give you the honest, okay, you got to suck it up.
Explaining it, like, if you just got, like, the flat, no, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But you need to find a new coach.
Yeah. Whereas if they can say, look, it's going to be like this for X, Y, and Z time. This is why. This is what we're going to do about it. They can look at you.
But there's definitely strategies to keep off hunger. Like, caffeine's a really big one.
Yeah, I used and abused that very nicely in my last.
Oh yeah. Hello, Pro Plus.
Monster, give me the Monster.
Oh, I love Monster. What do you think of the rose one?
I'm not sure. I like white and green.
What, the appley one?
It's like, I think it's like an
Not
apple.
Paradise. It's what
Yeah,
Paradise is like the teal one, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
actual like the proper green one.
yeah. I can't remember what it.
Someone
What
told me that was cucumber the other day. I was like, oh fuck off, is it? No,
gang cucumber?
it's
I was,
like
I was,
kiwi and apple or something. It's too
it's
like
delicious.
tart, isn't it?
Before we
Cucumber.
finish, you have to tell me what you eat in a day because I know briefly what you have as a snack. Now, for pure comedy value, please bear with me and the listeners what a day looks like for Sam and Lizzie and all of the gains.
Lizzie eats substantially less than me, given that she's half my body weight.
Yeah, for
Less than
sure.
half.
Yeah.
But me, I'll have, I don't eat loads in the morning. I'm not like a big morning eater. So I have like a couple of scoops of whey and a pint of milk.
Yeah, easy.
Um, and maybe like a little bit of like yogurt, those like 25-gram protein things.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, see, and then I've got really good at eating lots of little things to sort of top it up. But I have like a big, or medium sort of size, like main lunchy things. It might be like some chili and rice or something,
Yeah.
or like a few sandwiches. But I'll have like crisps and yogurts and snack. Like she's even got me eating like fruit and vegetables. Man, this girl, she's the one. Right? She's convinced me to eat vegetables.
Micronutrient gang.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, whoa, what are these vitamins and what are these micronutrients doing in my body?
Wait, this isn't replacing the snack that I have just.
No. I still have that. This is
Okay.
that I have like a good foundation of like actual food as well. um, and yeah, so it's like so I mean, like I'm getting like 4,000 calories a day quite comfortably.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, my ultimate snack.
This makes me die. Me and Matt talk about this all the time.
Big bag of bagels times two, 10 bagels, and 4 pots of sweet chili hummus.
As a
That's like
snack.
that's like 2,500 calories. Or no, it's more than that, man. Because two hummuses is like, oh no, that's like 3,000-4,000 calories on its own.
So would that be on a training day?
Well, I'm in this position at the moment where like I'm just stuck at like 130. I'm in this like plateau. Like I know I weighed in at 134 today. That's because I ate like Domino's and a pint of ice cream last night.
Bit of sodium.
That's everything else.
For you.
But yeah, so I'm trying to get up to about 137 because mass moves mass, right? And I've got space to go up to about 140, just under 140 for my competitions. I was like, yeah, fuck it. If I get to 137, I've got a little bit of wiggle room. So man needs to eat. So like, yeah, I'll get like a big bag of peanuts, like the barbecue with the sweet chili coated peanuts. Oh yeah, and just cane that.
Textures. Oh.
Yeah. So it's extras, but my extras are like other people's daily intake of calories. I know I should be better, but like I get like 1 day off a week at the moment. I'm starting at like I'm getting up at 5 in the morning, getting home by 9 at night. I don't have the time to do like proper shit. I just grab and go, right?
Yeah. It's all about trying to do what's required at the time. Like both of our sports aren't the healthiest, and we're fully transparent about that. I'll never say to someone competing is healthy because it is an extreme sport. You're pushing to extremely lean, or you're pushing up potentially past comfort zones in regards to an off season. So it's like you've said throughout pretty much the whole pod. You got to do what you got to do, and it is what it is to a certain degree.
It's being honest with. I think it's being accountable to someone and yourself.
Yeah,
and being honest with yourself and like your coach or like someone. You need to be accountable to someone other than yourself as well, because that will help you stick with it.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you sort of try and cheat the process, how often do you see these guys? Right, they go like, I hear this all the time at work. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna I had someone who's like, "Oh, I'm gonna just go to like 1,500 calories." I'm like, you
Oh,
dumb fucking cunt. Like,
yeah.
just like you're gonna last 4 weeks max.
Yeah, but
You're
sometimes it's
gonna
like 2 days.
like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, it's like you realize how bad that is for you. Like,
It
that's worse than I think doing something like that is worse than doing a bodybuilding show. Worse because people like that have no insight into what they're doing, why they're doing it, how to do it safely. Like, you're just a fucking idiot. You're gonna you're gonna cut out half of your calories.
Yeah, but also, you know, on
Like,
the
I'm gonna
face,
cut out carbs. Okay, good luck.
yeah, it's because people as well, you
You're
know,
gonna
they
cut out
see
the thing
someone
that has the
on
same
low.
addictive properties as cocaine. You're just gonna go, no more carbs. No, you fucking hate.
Yeah, and they see what other calories people are on, but what you don't realize is this is completely individual. The nutrition advice Matt and I both give out, and I'm sure you're the same, and training, it's bespoke to the individual, their routine, their structure to their day,
Yeah,
their
you must use like basal
health.
metabolic rate, like activity levels, and all this. Like all of these things make a basic calculation. Particularly in the early days when you don't know the person so well, it's a lot of tinkering. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
tinkering,
100%.
and you
You know,
might end up gaining weight before you start losing weight. But we have to get to that point to be able to understand how to progress.
yeah, yeah,
People find that hard. It's like
yeah,
no. This is an important part of the process because as soon as we know, then we're cooking. Then we know what to do.
yeah,
But we
yeah.
have to know that first point. We have to have point A. But
Also, you know, sometimes I think people maybe don't understand that when they're filling out questionnaires and things that we do through the consultation
there's
process,
method. There's method behind the questions.
yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just a case of like, oh, roughly how many steps you do a day. We want to get data. It, like you say, it might
Be as
take,
accurate as possible.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it can take four to
because the
six.
more accurate you can be, the better the odds of finding the right starting point
Yeah, for
and
sure.
like understanding how you respond to things. And even like ethnicity and things like that play a huge part in like nutrition. People don't realize that in my like healthcare work, like people don't understand that there's differences in like your risk of having a heart attack just by being black.
Yeah, yeah,
Your risk increases. But
yeah,
why? Because just statistically, that is why.
yeah,
It's like a genetic factor. But
yeah,
yeah, it's you see this with it's why a good example for like the powerlifting thing is you often get coaches who are like, let's see what program you were doing before.
mm.
Now people think it's because well, don't because they're going to steal the program and like whatever. It's like, no, it's because they want to see what you can tolerate, what
And
you've
what your
been doing,
physique looks like with that training.
what have you been doing, because we
Yeah,
need to understand what you've been doing if
mm,
and try and make it because if we see what you've been doing, and I suppose it's 9 times out of 10 it's fucking dog shit. It's not fucking working
yeah.
because otherwise why they come to you, right?
I've seen
If
some.
it's so good, they would have stayed.
Well, you know, the duty of care and what people are happy to dish out as a coach. You know, don't get me on the rampage, but it actually upsets me. And Matt
It
and I,
upsets me. It's
um, yeah,
good coaches get upset by it because bad coaches give all coaches a bad rep.
yeah,
And it was sort of talking about before we went live is live or started recording is we talk about like people's misconception of what a coach should be, right?
yeah,
In the bodybuilding thing, like seeing someone that's shredded doesn't mean they're going to be a good bodybuilding coach.
yeah,
Seeing
yeah,
someone that's strong doesn't mean they're going to be a good strength coach.
yeah.
And you know, recycling of old programs, like how many people have you seen? You must have like, or had people who have come to you from the same coach, and you've seen the program they've get, and it's exactly the fucking same.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even the same
You're like,
responses,
this is individualized, is it?
or even blanket responses
Hmm.
on WhatsApp. You know, how long does it take you to send an individual message to a client on WhatsApp? You don't need to copy and paste messages on WhatsApp. I mean, you're in the wrong job if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, right. But
Oh,
this is the problem of coaching is it's not regulated.
yeah,
It's not they're not protected titles like nurse, doctor, physiotherapist, dietitian. Good one, a great one for you guys. Like a dietitian's a protected title. You
yeah,
cannot call yourself a dietitian
yeah, for sure.
unless you are fully trained.
Yeah, yeah,
The industry is not regulated, so there's no accountability to a governing body or to someone to go, "Hey, your the standard of your practice is shit. You're not allowed to practice."
yeah, for sure.
And so you'll get guys come to you that have had a really bad experience. You have to undo all of that work before you can actually start doing the good work.
Yeah.
My coach currently spent about the best part of a year undoing another coach's work, and now we're in the process of making gains from where I was.
Yeah.
And you just think like if just you just have like a bit of pride in what you're doing. Like if you don't have pride in what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Well, it's a bit like your example earlier of, someone jumping onto really low calories, slashing their calories in half, or whether that's under a coach or whether they do that off their own back.
Yeah.
And actually, I get people that come to me that have been dieting for fucking ages and their calories are so low. Actually, I've got an example, Dia client. She's an absolute legend. She'll be listening. We actually put her calories up and the physique response was mental because she didn't need to be that low. But from, various coaching and what she'd sort of learned herself before coming to me, she thought obviously lower calories was the best route. And actually sometimes, it's about bringing calories up and trying to
stimulate a response.
Yeah. And it was
because actually what you realize is your body still needs energy.
Yeah.
And part of this is like there's losing weight, or let's be more like weight is an indicator of, say, fat loss. That's kind of how we use it, right? With the absence of like skin fold calipers, DEXA scanning, and all that sort of stuff, using weight to track essentially fat loss, broadly speaking, right? But then you're also trying to maintain muscle or build muscle, so you still need energy to do that. So, like I said, if you get someone that's just been on like
really low,
a small woman has been on like 1,200 calories for like 6 months, they're miserable. They hate their fucking life. And they've made no progress.
And they're not progressing
in the gym, and they don't look any different. You go, well, in terms of calorie reduction, we kind of got nowhere to go, realistically. Like, you could go a bit lower, but you're going to get to the point where your period stops and all sorts of fucking weird shit. And for Joe Public, like the everyday person, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Like, you get like the competitive, female bodybuilders, and their periods do stop for a little bit, and then they come back. But yeah, and the same like for guys, your dick stops working. Sorry, lads. Being that lean for, like you said, being that lean all year round. So
there's a lot that goes into it.
Think about that. No one's telling you that on Instagram. But no one's telling you that on Instagram.
Yeah.
They just go, yeah, look shredded. Take Viagra too. So up the calories like you did, and you'll see a response.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And that's why the whole cycling between like bulking, cutting, it's important.
Well, also,
and not dropping calories too quickly, because you drop a little bit, then when your body adapts, and your body will adapt to anything.
Yeah, this is what I say to clients as well.
Where'd you go from 1,200 calories? Nowhere.
Yeah.
You can only go up.
Yeah, we want your calories to be as high as they can be for as long as they can be.
It's the same principle as like strength training. It's minimum effective dose. You do the smallest amount to achieve the most.
Yeah.
And it's like you do the smallest calorie reduction to achieve the most loss.
Yeah, for sure. This is
you don't need to do drastic things, because they're dangerous, they're dumb, they're stupid, they don't work.
I was just going to say to you, before we press the stop record button, what would be your biggest bit of advice to the listeners? Would it be that, or are we going to have something else?
I think, don't eat yellow snow. Don't come near me in Audi. No, I think it's twofold, right? So one of the biggest regrets I ever had in terms of like training is not getting a coach sooner. If you're going to go down this sort of weight loss route or photo shoot route, or you want to get stronger, whatever it is that you want to do, get a coach. Part 2, do your fucking research.
Yeah.
Don't just find your local coach at the gym. Shop around. Online coaching is huge, and there's some really good online coaches. There's some really good face-to-face coaches, but you'll be paying a lot more money. But with that, do not be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask how many clients they got, how much they charge, what results they've got, examples of programming for other clients, things like that. Don't be afraid to ask who some of their clients are, so you can speak to them directly.
I did a post about this today, like exactly that. It's the best way, because if you're going to catch a vibe with your coach, you catch a vibe.
And Yeah, and that's important. Like, you've got to be able to have a good relationship with your coach, because if you don't have a good relationship, you're not going to be honest. You're not going to respect them, or they're not going to respect you. It's got to work, and sometimes you're not the right match, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's cool. Yeah, yeah,
And like, how many times, like, they might be able to recommend you to someone else. They might be able to go, look, I don't think that I'm the right person for you, but here's X, Y, Z.
yeah, for sure.
That's what good coaches will do.
Well, off the back of that, and of course, everything we've spoken about today, if people wanted to follow you on the gram or seek out more advice about powerlifting or talk to you about anything we've discussed today, can you hit me up with your Instagram handle, please? Do you know it off by heart?
Yes, I should do. I've recently changed it.
A lot of the guests are like, it's 1 second.
I'll check. It's at Pitchford Powerlifting. So Pitchford Powerlifting, all one. Yeah, come reach out, have a chat. Let's let's do it.
Support each other. Thank you, my friend. You are a legend, and
Good to have you back in the UK.
Well, yeah, I will see you either from on top of a volcano in person or on Zoom.
We're gonna be having a celebration in like 6 weeks or so when I finish my course. So
oh hell yeah,
you'll come into that.
Oh yeah. I love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Bye.